Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's having a great night. Just waiting on Tony to come in. Hopefully, everything works well tonight. Keep my fingers crossed on that. Whew. Get my Wi-Fi, my phone. Everything's working. Hey, Tony. Okay. It says adding, Tony. Hopefully that goes well. Hopefully. Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, James. How are you?
Good, good. Glad to see you, and glad to see you guys are doing good.
Thank you. Happy Friday.
Yeah. Another day alive.
Just adjusting the phone. 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to take a few minutes here, wait for a couple people to come on. Adjust your phone, do what you got to do.
All right, sounds good.
That looks pretty good there, pretty well centered.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead and introduce you guys, your names, and tell everybody what you're all about, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good, James. I'm Tony Rathman. I'm the founder of Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations in Phoenix, Arizona. This is my wife and co-founder, Cherie. We've been investigating the paranormal for about 8 years now, and we've investigated all over the United States, most of the well-known paranormal places. Of course, Waverly Hills is still on our bucket list.
Correct.
Hope to get to that one soon. But we do all sorts of things. We started out investigating historic places. We've done almost every hotel with a paranormal reputation in Arizona.
And residential as well.
And then we moved on to residential after about 3 years of experience. We felt comfortable enough to move on to help individual families and businesses that were having paranormal concerns. And we've been doing that now for quite a few years.
Awesome. Awesome. Before we get too started, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good, good. I've been trying to work on my audio for the last couple of weeks, I'll tell you. Anyway, yeah, I know. Let me ask you, what got, each of you can answer this, what got each one of you started into the paranormal?
Why don't you go first?
You go first.
Well, my story involves you, so tell yours first.
Well, actually, I love to watch paranormal investigations show. I'm not gonna say any show or name show, but so one Valentine and Tony asked me, so what do you want to do for Valentine's?
Before you go into that story, let me explain that this was 8 years ago, and she would watch these shows, and she would always say to me, "Come and watch this. You're gonna love it." Well, I was a complete skeptic at the time. My father's a physicist, chemistry teacher, physical science. If it wasn't science-based, I didn't believe it. So she'd have me sit down. I'd last 3 to 5 minutes tops. I didn't believe it at all. I didn't think it was real. I didn't think what they were showing was legitimate, and I ignored it. Now we'll go to her Valentine's Day story. But one Valentine's Day, we'd always go to a hotel, relax for the weekend, drink by the pool, because in Arizona, you know, even in February, it's beautiful. But she said to me, "I want to do something different." I said, "Okay, what would you like to do?" She goes, "I want to go to someplace haunted." I'm like, "Haunted? What? How am I going to find that?"
Here in Arizona,
well,
very few.
Very few, but, well, not really, more than what I ever expected. But a little bit of internet research, I found a place, hotel, right here in downtown Phoenix. So to make her
call.
Sorry about that. Somebody tried to call.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she asked to go to someplace haunted, found a hotel downtown, and booked it. But of course, then I thought, wait a minute, she needs some equipment, or she's not going to be able to investigate properly. So of course, at that time, I bought her a night vision camera, digital recorder,
EMF. $12 EMF.
Yeah, it wasn't expensive. I'll admit that. I figured it was just a weekend trip. So we investigated. She had a blast. I was happy. She was happy. But it was the next day when we got home. Every 3 to 5 minutes, she was calling me over. Look at this picture. Listen to this on the recording. I was absolutely blown away. We were one of 2 guests in the hotel that night. So they have like 300 rooms, and there was only one other room occupied. So the hotel was basically empty. We're walking down halls. I was trying to play along. I was asking a few questions. Yeah. And the responses that came back absolutely blew me away. I must have listened to that one couple 100 times, not being able to understand what I was hearing.
Right.
And that's what started it. And then from there, we kept going back to that location to see if we could get it to happen again. And we did. Our results were consistent. We were getting the same voices. And that's what started it all. I mean, Sheree had video, things on the video I couldn't explain. We had audio I couldn't explain. We had pictures I couldn't explain. It literally shook my world at that time. And that's what started it.
That's a great story. That's a great story. Obviously, it must have hooked you because here you are.
It hooked me big time. And like I said, every chance we got, we were back out investigating again.
We'll probably investigate that hotel more than 50 times.
More than 50 times. And that's the place we started. Of course, then we branched out. We started doing other hotels. We started doing other historic locations. And it just grew and it kept growing. And every time we went out, of course, we had some times that we didn't get much at certain locations, but we kept going. We just kept doing it. And the paranormal stuff that we captured just kept coming in. So we kept going out. And 8 years later, we're still doing it.
And we still enjoyed it.
So let me ask you this. You ever been something ever really scare you bad? Either one of you?
Yes. Yeah. Why don't you tell yours about the Oxbow? Because that one shook you up. That was more scared than I've ever seen you.
Yeah, when we were, it's in Payson in Oxbow Saloon. So I believe we were supposed to be our pilot.
Right. It was a proposed pilot, but
right.
anyway.
So Tony and I, we were standing in their front porch and we were just talking, and I get poked like you wouldn't believe, like I screamed.
She literally screamed at the top of her lungs. That happened, what, 3 times?
It happened twice.
Wow.
Twice?
Yeah. Twice. So, and then not only that, when we're doing investigation at the time, I felt this cold and touching my stomach, and Tony caught it in his skeletal mapper, what do you call that thing?
Oh, wow.
So this was an instant where we were investigating. There was supposed to be a relatively mean or very aggressive spirit in the Oxbow Saloon, and there was. And he literally was picking on Sheree. I mean, he was always around her. Every time we were investigating, he was playing with her hair. He was touching her face. And then when we weren't filming, he was poking her and hard. And I've never seen her react like that. By the end of the night, I actually had to stop the investigation and pull her out because she wasn't herself by any means.
Well, not only that, our car shut down. The battery is dead. So
I forgot about that.
Remember that?
Yeah. So when we were investigating, they were draining the batteries in the cameras. They were draining the batteries in our equipment. They drained the battery in the security system of the bar. And when we finally left that night at like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, I don't remember, our car battery was dead. Now, whether that was related or not, I don't know, but it was a strange event as far as batteries dying.
Exactly.
Wow. So was that one of your scariest, was that coincide with your scariest moment also, Tony? Or you have your own scary moment?
We have lots of them. And as we have gone through investigating throughout the years, there's different levels of scary. And when we first started, some of the smaller things probably shook us up, or we felt, a sense of fear, or because it was not normal. It was paranormal. And that can be frightening in itself. But then as the years went on, you get used to some of the smaller stuff, and you you get used to experiences that you've had, and then something new comes along and can frighten you. And then there's different variations of frightening. I mean, the building itself can be frightening. There's visually frightening. There's mentally frightening, where you can be feeling like you're attacked mentally or your emotions are in swing. And then, of course, there's physical scary, where you're physically attached, you're pushed, you're slapped, you're shoved.
Scratch.
And then you get a combination of those. So, yes, I mean, there's been multiple times where there's been a sense of fear in me, and depending on where the level and what time this happened to us. But you get a combination of those. And my scariest one was probably either La Posada.
Oh, I know, right?
I wasn't even there. Cherie kept trying to calm me down and trying to get me to do the prayer, release prayers that we do. I couldn't even say the words, even though I understood what she was telling me. I couldn't even speak. That time I felt threatened. Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds
And
like
I told him.
Go ahead.
Right, go ahead.
It sounds like you're being attacked spiritually and mentally on that one.
I think that's exactly what happened. Because even today, when I think back on that, that wasn't me. That's not how I am. That's not how I react. And I mean, she was literally saying the words one at one. She's like, repeat after. I couldn't do it. Right. It was really, really strange.
It scares me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't want to pray. I don't want to pray. I don't want to pray. That's what you've been telling me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. We're not going to do this anymore.
But we didn't stop.
And then you're going to leave Tony there, right?
I was going to. I'm like, that's it for you. Bye-bye.
Be back later, Tony.
All right.
Well, I love that fact that you guys work together as a husband and wife on investigations. I love that, because one thing about it, nobody knows each other better than you two. So you would definitely know if one of you is being attacked or starting to get attachment or something bothering each one of you. You would know, you know.
Exactly, and that's one of the huge benefits of being not only married but as a team. We are.
Okay.
But as a team, and you're absolutely right. You know each other's personality. You know when they're acting strange. It helps you identify those. Right. It also keeps us from getting into, a lot of the drama that goes out today, because it's just her and I doing it, and that helps. The downfall is that when we're doing multiple investigations and we've got multiple things going on, there's only two of us to do it, and that takes a ton of time.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Let me ask you guys this. What's the best piece of evidence that you've captured, you feel, in 8 years?
I have one. The one when we were at La Posada and we were in the tunnel. The tunnel is really, you don't know where it ends. And my kids called me Mama. That's how they call me, Mama. So I was looking at the tunnel. We were actually in the tunnel basement. And I caught this voice, and it says, "Come here, Mama," and it's loud and clear, and that freaks me out.
That was probably one of your best captures.
Right.
She, like I said, the La Posada Hotel in Winslow, Arizona they originally had these underground tunnels that ran throughout the city. Now, some of them are blocked off today, but there's still, if you go down in their basement, there's access to them, and they run off into the darkness. You can't even see. Wow. And Cherie was coming around a corner with her camera, and she looked down the dark hall. I was actually secondary videotaping what she was doing. And this voice is on both cameras. There is nobody down there. And this voice literally comes through, male voice.
Right.
And she peeks around the corner and says, "Come here, Mama." That was kind of cool. But
there's one too in San Carlos.
Yeah.
The apparition.
Correct. But my best capture was when we first got a FLIR camera, we were in the Hotel San Carlos in downtown Phoenix. And I had just turned it on, and I was aiming it down the hall, and I was getting ready to focus, and this figure shows up in the middle of the hall, no body heat whatsoever, room temperature. It matched all the colors within the room. Yep. It steps like 2 or 3 steps forward, moves across the hall, stops, turns around, apparently, walks back to the middle of the hall, stood there for a while. Then another figure walked up to it. You can see there's 2 figures in, but they have no body heat whatsoever. that was one of my most fascinating captures.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's a good one. You got two on film at once.
Right, right.
That's unique right there. Definitely. Well,
It was.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this: you ever come across real evil besides the one poke, maybe the guy poking you, or something like you knew was really bad?
We have an investigation we did 5-6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a personal investigation, and we normally don't discuss those because obviously it's a personal residential.
Right.
But I can say this about it is that we showed up there. This woman was complaining about paranormal activity, voices in the house, objects moving. We went there and investigated, and we had everything from shadow figures to huge EVPs to all sorts of other evidence that something was going on. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing that we captured is we did a spirit box session, and the responses were one right after another. They were direct answers. Wow. They were mean. They were vicious. They threatened myself. They threatened the woman who lived there. It was unbelievable. I had never heard anything like that. And luckily we got, after a month or two of searching for somebody that could really come in and help clean. That's not necessarily our specialty. We do know how, but this was a serious case. This woman definitely needed help. But we got a hold of an archbishop and a demonologist out in LA, and they cleared it, which was great that we were able to do that. But that's probably the most vicious we've run into. Right. And that actual video, I think, is still up on my Facebook page if anyone wants to see it. But it's just one section of the investigation we did. Yeah. Oh, we also caught objects coming out of the ceiling and flying across the room, which was just in the shadows. Yep.
Wow.
But it was intense and it was vicious, and whatever was there was not your ordinary paranormal experience by any means.
Yeah, it wasn't Casper a friendly ghost by no means.
No.
Absolutely not.
No. Right. Well, that brings me to my next question. How do you guys protect yourself before, during, or after investigations?
We have a variety of ways, but the two main one that we always make sure we do is we have protective prayers, both before an investigation and after an investigation. And we do those on a regular basis. That's just something anyone who's involved in investigations needs to take very seriously, because there are things that can happen, and we've experienced it. Yeah. A couple times we did slack and we paid for it. Mm-hmm. But of course, we've also got objects. I've got crosses. I've got rings with crosses on them, which are all sentimental to me from a religious perspective, which that's what matters. It doesn't necessarily matter what the object is, but that it has that impact for you. Cherie's got other crosses. You've got the rosary beads that you use. But that on top of the prayers, of course, we've got the holy water. We've got all the other items. But there are times where we've had to go as far as saging and other things to clear the energy around us just because of that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys protect yourself. Well, I always say, advice I always give everybody is whoever your higher power is, you need to believe in that and go with that and use it to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
It's a must.
Yeah, very important. I'm glad to hear you guys do that. Let me see. That brings me kind of my next question. There's a lot of new people out there that want to get into investigating. What would be your advice to like new people getting into this field? What would be your advice to them?
That's a very good question, because there are so many people joining the field today.
Yeah.
And understandable. I mean, you've got TV show after TV show that's showing their representation of what ghost hunting is like. But the problem is that the majority of ghost hunting shows aren't necessarily accurate by any means.
No.
I mean, you don't walk into a location and get evidence after evidence every 2-3 minutes. That doesn't happen.
No.
Second of all, they kind of portray it in a way that seems sometimes overly dramatic, and in other times not necessarily taking it seriously enough. There are real dangers in doing this. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that. And they think if they grab a recorder and a cell phone and a camera, that they can go do this without any repercussions. That's not the case.
No, it's
by
not.
any means.
By any means.
So my biggest statement about that, anybody coming into this new, is A, take it seriously. B, learn from people who have done it before and have experience in doing it. Find out what you can learn from them. If anything, find a group that is knowledgeable and work with them so that you can experience some investigations with a group who knows what they're doing. Going off on your own or with a buddy and just trying it, there's dangers there, and that can be very scary.
I agree totally. I always tell them to try to find a team that maybe you can tag along, just stay out of the way and get all the information, all the knowledge you can get wherever it may be, and just don't jump in the deep end of the pool by no means, because
Right.
you got to take this serious, because here's the thing. You can bring things home with you, and it's going to affect your life, your job, your dog, you. It's believe me, it's no joke. You can't just be like, oh, let's go out in the country and if there's a house that's empty, let's go root around in it. You don't know what's waiting in there, just waiting for you to come in.
Exactly. And I mean, we've had attachments, we've had stuff follow us home on multiple occasions. I mean, one of them, we were home like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, and we were actually reviewing the evidence we had captured, and something of a white fog mist, but thick, literally crossed the corner of the bed that we were both sitting on.
We thought it was our dog.
Yeah, we thought it was our dog because he's white, but you could literally watch both of our heads follow this thing across the bed. And of course, Cherie says to me, "Is that your dog? Or was that the dog?" And we got up. Dog was nowhere in the room. He was way on the other side of the house.
And he was sleeping.
Right, and he was sleeping. So it was not the dog, but whatever this was, and I wish we had it on camera.
This is after when we investigated at Phelps Lodge.
At the Phelps Lodge,
yeah.
right.
Wow.
But and then there was another instance where she was giving the dog a bath, and the dog came out of the bath. He was all wet. He was rolling around on the floor, and she was recording him. And then he ran off into the living room. Well, she took her phone, threw it on the bed to go in and get the dog, but she forgot her phone was recording. So it recorded like an hour and 15 minutes of audio. And when I got a hold of that and started going through it, we had 5 or 6 different voices. She was alone in the house at the time, commenting on what Cherie was doing. She was commenting on how the dog was behaving and what the dog was doing. That was one of the first times we realized that spirits had followed us home. And that they were literally active in the house. Yeah. And that was a little unnerving at that point.
I gotta ask, Cherie, how did you feel knowing once you found that out?
When I found out what?
That spirits were there.
The spirits were there and you were recording them.
Well, first I asked Tony, listen to this one. Like, listen to all the voices. It's scary, but they're harmless. I hope so. These were harmless, but it was funny because they were literally interacting with what she was doing, and they were literally making comments about what the dog should do. I mean, I heard "Come here, Loki" I don't know how many times. "Sit down, Loki." They know the name of our dog. It's hard to catch something like, "Come here, Loki."
Yeah, it's
Loki.
hard to dismiss that. I mean, they literally were following your actions.
Right.
And that's an unnerving feeling.
Yeah.
To know and really have evidence that proves that they're right in your house, that they can see you, that they're interacting with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that took a while to deal with and to come to sort of a settling point to say, okay. But like Cherie said, they were not harmful in any way, which was the big plus.
Our house is not really old, but because I love to video everywhere, even in the bathroom, I will record. Seriously, I go outside, I do recording, and I will hear voices and voices after voices.
Yeah, we can't turn on any type of video or audio device in the house
it's like we don't have a privacy
without getting voices that are not coming from anyone inside the house. Right. And that's kind of crazy.
Well, Andrew Volt once he asked, "What's your opinion on being non-spiritual but more quantum physics type?"
Well, first of all, hi Andrew.
Well, that's a very good question. But the bottom line is the fact of the matter, regardless of religious beliefs, regardless of scientific beliefs, regardless of metaphysical or physical beliefs, what is happening out there exists. And it matters only that you either evaluate it, research it, and get evidence for yourself to prove it to yourself, or you're just going to dismiss it. And there are people out there that just do not want to deal with it, do not want to evaluate evidence that's been captured. And there's evidence out there today is formed that people are capturing better EVPs. They're capturing more evidence from different paranormal equipment. But what your religious beliefs are and what your science background is, like I said, mine was totally set in the science realm, and all of a sudden, all we collected, I could not explain. So, to answer Andrew's question, it really doesn't matter. If you really want to know, if you really want to find out for yourself, do some tests, and I guarantee you, you will at one point or another, maybe right away, maybe after a while. And again, we're back to that. Do it with somebody who's got the experience so they can train you. But eventually you're going to hit something you can't explain. Yeah. And then that's going to start the process.
Right. I agree. Totally. Hey, what's your favorite piece of equipment to use when you gather your evidence? What's your go-to?
My favorite is my phone. My cell phone. Seriously.
Yeah.
All of our evidence, what we capture, is through my phone.
Wow.
The EVPs, anyway.
The EVPs.
I don't know what it is about her phone. I mean, it's not anything, unusual. It's an LG.
Yeah.
But she's been able to capture EVPs on that phone that have far blown away. I mean, we've got Tascam recorders. We've got multiple other recording devices. I mean, we've got an array of devices, but for some reason, that phone for her is her go-to instrument. She can video and get the EVPs, and it's one of the things she's very good at. Now, for me, I like to spread it out. I love to use the FLIR. I love to do EVP2s, but I'm into the ITC. I love the spirit boxes. I've gotten some great responses and out of spirit boxes and using different types of spirit boxes. And I'm always trying new stuff that comes out. But the thing about the equipment that you use is that it doesn't necessarily have to be anything fancy. Right. I mean, there are people still using equipment that was used, years ago, literally tape recorders. And when you find a device that works for you and works well, that's all that matters. I mean, it doesn't have to be where you're spending a ton of money. You can she uses her cell phone both to audio record, video record, and it works really well for her. But whatever that device is that works for an individual, that's what they should use.
I agree. I'll tell you, I've got some fantastic EVPs just off my cell phone I've used because I have left it somewhere in my recorder or didn't have it or it broke down, battery's dead, whatever. And I've always got a backup on my cell phone. And I've really got some really class A's on there, I'll tell you. What did you use? Was that your cell phone, those EVPs, about a week or two ago where you guys showed you guys cleaning up? And was that from the cell phone too?
It was. Cherie placed her cell phone in the corner of the room while we were packing up, and it looks like Brian Cook just said, did she ever get that chair folded up? No, she didn't. I had to go fold it for her, but now she knows. But anyway, yes, that was her simple cell phone, video recording in the corner of the room, and those voices that came through were amazing because they are clear. Now, granted, we were making a ton of noise packing up,
right?
But you can still hear them, and loud and clear, and they were saying things that we never heard with our own ears, and that was an incredible capture that she had.
Yeah, I think I shared a few of them. I was amazed that It almost sounded like there
Thank
was other
you so
people having a
much.
conversation across the room. Well, I guess they were.
Right.
I guess they were.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
Oh man, that was. Yeah, I remember those. So you mentioned Waverly. That must be your one of your bucket list places that you'd like to investigate somewhere down the road. I would reckon, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's very well known,
Yeah.
and the reputation of it, and everyone who's been there, the comments that come back are, "Oh, this place is amazing." We've experienced things that we haven't experienced in other places, and now that we've opened our own and we know what happens at ours,
Yeah.
Waverly is now even a bigger bucket list item for us because we want to see the comparison. We want to know what the differences are. We want to know what we experience. And obviously, when you've got reputation after reputation of investigators coming out of there saying, we captured some incredible stuff here, that just fuels us to want to go see what we can get there.
Right. What about you, Sheree? What's on your bucket list to investigate?
Well, whatever his bucket list, it's my bucket list also.
Okay.
I couldn't ask for a better partner in investigations because, yeah, she's extremely supportive.
That's great. I love that. If either one of you guys had a chance to investigate with somebody, who would you, besides each other, who would you like to investigate with? Past or present or future?
Rick
McCall?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's on our list, but there's such a wide variety of investigators out there, both ones who have been doing this for years and new ones that are coming up that are showing some real promise in their abilities. So, I really hate to just throw out a name or two when there are, there's probably handfuls of them that at some point we would like the experience to be able to investigate with. One of the nice things about an investigation with other investigators, and whether that be somebody as well known as Johnny Zaffis or, there's so many of them, I don't even want to start naming, but I mean, each investigator brings with them a very unique either perspective or dynamic or ability, and you can always learn from that. And we love doing that. We love investigating with other people because we always learn something. And that's one thing in the paranormal field that a lot of times is claimed but not shown. And we really want to push that para-unity, and we're all after the same thing. We're all after the knowledge. The evidence that's captured is great, but it's that knowledge and understanding which is the true target. And anytime you can get that opportunity to learn from another group or investigate with another group or learn new things or exchange information, that's always a plus.
Yeah, I agree. We can always, there's always room for learning. We always can learn from each other, pick something up, even if it's what not to do or what to do. There's always knowledge to be learned. I agree totally. And well, what's your thoughts on provoking? What's your thoughts on that?
We are not big provokers. We never have been.
Good.
And it's personal reasons for us. I mean, other people do it. We know some of the TV shows that are known for it.
Yeah.
But my personal opinion is these are human spirits, meaning they were once human. They have feelings. They have emotions. They may have distress. They may be lost. They may be confused. They may be trying to solve emotional problems. And to provoke them and treat them as substandard or to just irritate them, to me, there's absolutely no need for that. No need at all.
Right.
And we've experienced over the years that by being sympathetic, by being
they communicate
they communicate better with us because we don't provoke them.
Right. I agree totally. I've had way more luck, not provoking. And now I've had to provoke things that weren't necessarily human spirits.
That's a completely different. Yeah, right, that I agree with.
Yeah, that's a little different ball game altogether. You don't want to get involved in that one if not need to, don't do it. But yeah, I agree totally. A lot of human spirits, I feel some of them are just, they missed their point to cross over, and now maybe they're desperate to try to get somebody's attention, And you got to realize 9
Right.
out of 10 people can't see, hear, or feel them. So it's frustrating. They get frustrated. And you know, if say you've been around 50, 100 years and you can't get nobody's attention, you're frustrated. And you may come to the mindset of you got nothing left to lose, but maybe to, you know, slap somebody or something, because what are you going to do? Kill you? You're already dead. I mean,
Exactly. And that's a great point. I mean, from the evidence that we captured, we know they can see us.
Yep.
We know they can hear us.
Mm-hmm.
But normally, and we've had times where you can, but normally you can't hear them. And how frustrating would that be to be standing around people that you know, trying to get your attention, trying to get a message across,
yeah.
and you just can't get it to happen? That to me would be a bigger torture than lots of other things, because they're right there.
Well, not only that, we have an EVP saying, "Who's dead? I'm not dead." The spirit. Remember?
Oh yeah, we have lots of them.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people
They don't even know.
They don't know.
Exactly.
They don't know.
Right.
And you know, that's a good point. I mean, they're just human spirits. Some don't know. They're just trying to get your attention. And I know a lot of people out there, especially clients and cases, they misinterpret these as evil spirits. They're evil, but sometimes they're not. They're just desperate or frustrated.
Right.
Right. Well, you figure they have two things that human beings have. They have free will and they have emotions. Those don't go away. And those emotions are going to rise and fall just like they do for us every day. And there's going to be times that, yeah, maybe they act out in a way that's not maybe normal for them, but because they're frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that you're dealing with something demonic? No.
No. Now, on the other token, I'm going to tell you something. There's been a lot of bad people in this world walking around. A lot of bad people. Now, when they pass over, they've just inherited a really big-time weapon to be even more evil, and the fact that 9 out of 10 people can't see or hear you. So if they were bad in life, trust me, they're worse than death. And
I completely agree.
That's just the way it is.
Right.
You know,
right. Until something changes that outlook or that personality.
Right.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reasonable doubt to say that they wouldn't be that same person on the other side with a whole new set of abilities.
Exactly. Think about that for a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Has either one of you picked up an attachment that you've had to, deal with?
I have, and we had to do all sorts of things to get rid of it, more than we probably have ever had to do for any other attachment. But it hung around a couple weeks, and it affected me physically. It affected me mentally. It affected me emotionally.
Our relationship.
It affected our relationship. I would snap and yell, which I normally don't do, so easily. And I remember even thinking to myself, what did I just do? This isn't me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started putting pieces together, and we started saying, okay, we need to cleanse the house. We need the sage. We need to break.
Even in the car, we have to clean it. Remember when we were at Dad's den?
I remember. Yep.
I was like evil.
It felt that. Well, I don't necessarily want to say, demonic evil, but it was definitely a strong attachment, and it had a bigger control than I wanted it to, and it took quite a bit to break it. But
you don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want that, because it does. It affects every portion of your life, and luckily we were able to break it.
Good.
And get through it. And but that was probably the worst one that has occurred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people don't realize, you can pick these things up if you don't protect yourself, or even sometimes when you protect yourself, you can pick them up and they'll affect your emotions, your attitude. They turn you into somebody you're not. They really will.
Exactly. Well, and you can feel their frustration, you can feel their emotions, and those literally portray through you. And that was a very unusual experience, but that was definitely the worst attachment that has ever occurred between either one of us.
Wow. Well, let me ask you about your hotel. How did you come across to, or I don't know if you own it or you rent it or what's going on there, but how'd you come across to get your thing set up? How you got going?
Sure. Well, we had our eye on that hospital for years because it did have a very haunted reputation. There were stories that had gone back centuries about people that had experienced things either in it or around it. You had people that had worked there years ago that were experiencing things when it was still open. Well, we got an opportunity to investigate one night, and we investigated for about 4 hours. And we caught things that we had not captured consistently from other locations. So then we reached out, found the owner, started creating LLCs and all sorts of other entities to make it sort of a business thing. But the thing about the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, which was the old Phelps Dodge Hospital, is that there is activity going on in there that it's incredible to us. And we've investigated a lot of places across the country, but this place has something very unique about it. And we were getting EVPs right from the beginning. We had EVPs saying, "Who are these people? What are they doing here? Are we safe to come out?" And they just kept coming and coming and coming. And so now today we've opened it as the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, and investigators from across the country or across the world can book an evening and investigate it for themselves. And we really encourage that because, we want to share that information. We want them to capture it as well and say, "Oh my gosh, this really is happening," and share it with other investigators, and then have other investigators come in and capture something along the same lines or similar, where that evidence can stack up and then make it harder to deny that this is truly occurring in this building. And so that was the whole purpose of us using this location as a research center, to give that opportunity
for others
to come to. And plus, I mean, we've investigated a ton of hotels, and we always run into other guests that are making noise, screaming in their room. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as EVP goes, you have that external disturbances that occur. And here you don't. Yeah. There's little to no disturbance. And you're alone in the building. We don't there's no neighbor. There's no neighbors. We don't go with you. Now we're thinking about maybe doing that, but right now, if you book, it's your team. Whoever you bring, it's whatever equipment you bring, and you've got 10 hours in that building from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. to investigate any part of it.
The whole building is yours.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I've seen it years ago. I've seen it on a different couple of programs, and from what I've seen, it's got a lot of stuff going on there.
It does, more than, like I said, more than we've seen at many locations we've been to. But I think some of it might be just because the building was empty for 38 years.
Oh, wow.
It closed in 1986 as a hospital and was just literally abandoned. And it sat empty for 38 years.
Wow.
And then, like I said, the spirits are, I think, wanting to communicate. And they literally, the very first night we were there, the first 4 hours we were ever inside, we caught some amazing captures.
The baby crying.
Yep. Yeah, that was
pretty intense.
That was very intense. But it's unique. It's a unique location. Plus, it has the history of it goes way, way back. The way the town formed, the way the mining community put together the town, the way the hospital was built to serve the mining community. Then you got people fighting over individually dug mines over who owns them. You had gunfights. You had barroom brawls when the city developed. You had just mining accidents, people getting crushed in the tunnels when they opened it into an open pit mine. You had people falling off the edges when they were jackhammering the rocks. So there were thousands of deaths at this small hospital. And I think that's another reason why it's so active.
a lot of history there for sure. Layer upon
A
layer.
lot of,
Yeah.
We're going down tomorrow.
yeah, we are.
Yep.
Oh,
We found a door that we're not quite sure where it goes, and we believe it goes to a whole nother section of basement we didn't know even existed.
well,
So we're excited to see
I'm
that.
excited too because I seen that door, and I got to tell you, when I seen it, I'm going to tell you, man, I got hit with waves of there's a lot of stuff going on down that. Listen, before you go down there, I got to tell you this. Please protect yourself because I'm telling you, it was hitting me palpable. It was just palpable. Please protect yourself.
When I was recording
We
that,
will. We definitely.
when I was recording that video, there's actually an EVP
Yeah, I
on
heard
that
it.
video.
I heard it when you were right next to the door. I heard it. But the funny thing is, excuse me, we this is the one hospital that does not have a morgue.
Right.
And that is the strangest thing ever. Well, we were doing a tour in there last week?
The Day of the Dead. Yes.
Day of the Dead tour. And a lady asked in the tour group, she said, well, where's the morgue? And I said, well, that's the funny thing about this hospital. It doesn't have one. And of course, her instant response is, well, what'd they do with the bodies? Right. Well, then this lady stepped forward that was in the tour, and she said, I used to work here, and my mother used to work here for like 26 years. And she said, I can tell you right now what they did with the bodies. And I said, okay, what did they do? And she said, they incinerated them. And she said, there's a tunnel in the basement that leads to the incinerator. Now, we haven't seen it yet, and we haven't been down there, but that's what we're looking for. But she also said there was a nurse dorm.
Nurse's dorm.
Yes. And all sorts of other stuff. So we didn't even know that existed. So we're very curious to get down there and check it out.
Yeah, believe me, even my friend Carol Ann, she sensed that stuff down there too. When I seen that,
yeah, we saw Carol's response to that too. And you know what? I think you're both right. I mean, when we were investigating the hospital, there's old elevators in there, but they don't work anymore because there's no power in the original hospital area. But you can stand on the first floor or third floor, second floor elevator, and you can hear voices coming up.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're thinking that elevator may very well go to that basement.
Yeah.
And because they probably used it as the emergency entrance and exit for the bodies, but they probably came in through that chute, got on the elevator, and went up to surgery or wherever they were going. But I think there's a whole bunch of that building we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
I think you're right. And you know, there's such a history there of tunnels everywhere. And I know a lot of places in Arizona, especially mining towns, a lot of the buildings have tunnels that connect buildings and stuff. You may find a whole series of tunnels down there.
You very well could, and you are absolutely right. Because there was so much mining done in Arizona, whether it be gold prospecting, silver, copper, whatever they were digging for, but you had that whole population of people who knew how to dig mines, and so tunnels are very common in Arizona.
Yeah, and because if you think about it, with a lot of mines locally, who knows? Maybe they dug a tunnel straight from the mines to the hospital as an easy access because miners got hurt all the time. You know,
all the time.
The mine is actually across the hospital.
It is, but I mean, you could easily have put a tunnel that went straight to the hospital. Exactly. That could very well exist in the basement. I mean, we haven't even seen it yet, which is so exciting. Can't wait for tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what you guys find. I'm just telling you, it really hit me hard when I seen them doors. I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on behind them doors.
It's unique, and there's something, like I said, originally we were told that tunnel just went to the first floor of the hospital. But if you look at that picture, that hospital is sitting above where that tunnel goes. There's no way it can connect unless it just goes to a room with stairs. But it's not lined up. It's underneath, which means there is something underneath there.
Zach never investigated that.
No, I never touched it.
Yeah, he never touched it.
And the odds are that whatever's down beyond, there's probably a whole floor down there somewhere. Yeah, I mean, don't be fooled by false walls and stuff or little closets. You know, there may be closets inside closets. Who knows?
Right. Exactly. And the last time we were in the building, we were doing just some really quick EVP sessions because we had to run out. It was late at night. We had to pack everything up. But we did these EVP sessions. And this was prior to us knowing of what this lady had told us about that tunnel. But the EVP said, Tony, go to basement.
Go to basement and attic. And
check attic. Now we're not aware of any attic yet, but believe me, we'll be looking.
Wow, that is, yeah. I definitely got your interest up anyway. I bet.
Yeah, it's.
We'll bring our metal detectors too.
Oh, nice. Oh, hey, we're winding down. I want to thank both of you coming on. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to promote or share whatever you want. And when we get off here, in the comments, put any links or websites you want. But go ahead and share and promote whatever you want right now. Go ahead.
First of all, we want to say thank you to all the people that online right now. We can't, mention all their names.
But
Carol, Brian, thank you guys, Andrew. And thank you, James, for having us.
Thanks for coming.
But anyone who's interested, anyone who might have further interest to find out what we do, we've got multiple websites. We've got entityvoices.com, which we haven't updated necessarily real recently, but you can find us on Facebook under Tony Rathman. All of our current stuff is up there. We have a YouTube channel under Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations. And of course, now that we opened the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, if you're looking to spend a night in that building, and I highly suggest it for anyone who has an interest, you can go to www.coppercanyonprc.com. Prices are listed there, group sizes, 10-hour investigation. You can definitely check that out.
Sounds exciting. I know if I ever get to Arizona, I'll definitely be checking that place out. I wanted to check that place out before I knew you guys even was running it or doing anything with it.
April, thank you.
Well, hey, thanks for coming on. I hope you guys have a great night. And I was going to give a couple shout outs to Taps Ghost Hunters. Tune into my friend Gary Anderson and his Night Dreams Talk Radio. Tune into that. He's not on tonight because his son was sick or something. But anyway, you guys have a great night. My next show should be Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right, James. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you guys get out to Ohio, call me up. We'll do something.
Same thing. You get out to Arizona, you make sure you let me know.
Will do. Have a great night, everybody. I want to thank all my members for tuning in. And everybody have a great night, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.